Welcome back to the Pittsburgh Sports Cast. We've been gone for a while, but now that there are some significant Pittsburgh sports news, we are back. I'm Ryan,
And I'm Chris.
and this is the podcast where two college kids discuss all things Pittsburgh sports all year round. So today we're going to be talking about the Pirates' schedule release. We're finally getting to see who we're going to play in this 60-game season, and then talk about some news as the Penguins finally find out the hub city that they're in, i.e. Toronto, and the start date. So it's lots of exciting stuff to talk about today, and we'll kick it all off with the Pittsburgh Pirates. They came out on Monday with the schedule: 60 games, 40 games against the NL Central, 20 games against the AL Central, playoffs functioning as normal. We have a universal DH. So, Chris, what do you say we go through each series and kind of make our predictions? Why don't we just go right after it?
Sounds good to me.
All right. So, very polarizing start to the season. MLB gave us the second toughest schedule in terms of the first three series of the season. We started off in Busch Stadium as we take on the St. Louis Cardinals. It's a 3-game series. How many games?
Do we win?
Yes.
0.
0. Okay. I think we're going to take the middle game of the 3-game set. That's optimistic, I know, but hey, I'm a fan. I try to support, so 1 out of 3. Next, we head back home to Pittsburgh against the Milwaukee Brewers.
We won 1.
We win 1. All right, home opener. Yeah, probably. I say we win the first game. We do have a tendency to win home openers, but I don't think we'll win a game after that. Oh boy. And then to cap off our grueling start, we get to face the Chicago Cubs in Wrigley Field. Oh, joy.
We win 0.
Well, what a rather optimistic start. I'm going to have to go. I don't see us at Wrigley Field, especially with the wind blowing out. We don't have the power hitters to, you know, perform well. Hopefully, our pitchers can keep the ball in the ballpark. Usually, again, like I said, it's summer. The wind will be blowing out. We're getting swept. No games. All right, now we could take on the next two series in tandem because they're against the same team. It's a 4-game home and home. First 2 are in Minnesota against the Twins. Second 2 are in Pittsburgh against the Twins. So this is out of 4, Chris.
2.
2. Oh, you think we're going to split the series? You know what? This is the Minnesota Twins. I think we're going to take 3 out of 4. I think we're finally going to get a series win, especially after the rough start. I think we're going to wake up a bit. So 3 games. For all of you listening at home, I'm actually writing down on a piece of paper how many games each of us predicts. Then we're going to get a win total out of the 60-game season, and we'll see how we differ from there. All right, continuing with interleague play, we will take on at home the Detroit Tigers. What do you say, Chris?
Sweep.
Sweep.
Yeah, I think we win 3.
I ultimately think we take 2 out of 3. I don't see us sweeping the Detroit Tigers, even though they may suck. So do we. And then, again, back at Busch Stadium, St. Louis Cardinals. How many games?
Out of 3?
Out of 3, yep.
1.
1 out of 3 games. I think, what the heck? Well, we'll start to get on a roll after winning another series. We'll take 2 out of 3 there. All right. Then it's 4 games in Cincinnati against the Reds.
3.
3 out of 4 games, you think? I think we're going to split. We're going to take 2 games. The Reds sleeping, I think, on a lot of people sleeping on the Reds, but I frankly think this will be a 4-team race in the NL Central. Cubs, Cardinals, Brewers, Reds. lurking in there, especially with that 60-game sprint. As my internet refreshes once again, we continue to play against Ohio teams as we come back home for 3 with the Indians.
1.
1 out of 3 with the Indians. Yeah. What?
The Indians are solid. They're a team.
Yeah, they are. They are certainly a team. I'm gonna have to go with a sweep. Honestly, they're the only AL Central team that seems relatively competent, and they're gonna show that against us. They're gonna be really motivated to beat up on us, especially considering they're from Cleveland and their sports teams don't usually get to beat up on Pittsburgh, except for the Indians. So moving right along, we have the Brewers at home once again for 3.
Sweep. We're losing all 3.
Yeah, we're gonna take 1 there. Yeah, frankly. Well, we got to catch some breaks this year. Then it's 2 games with the Chicago White Sox at Guaranteed Rate Field. We win both.
Yeah,
I would have to agree with you there. I think it's one of the first times we've agreed. But yeah, it's in Chicago. But then it's 4 games in Miller Park. That's the Brewers.
we'll lose 1. I mean, we'll win 1.
We'll win 1. I think we're gonna get swept. We hate playing in Miller Park. Miller Park does not do us any favors. It is bad. All right. Now we're heading into September finally. 3 games with the Chicago Cubs at home.
We won 1.
We won 1. I think we're back home. We'll take 2 out of 3. And then I think we are home again against the Reds.
2 out of 3.
2 out of 3. I'm going to agree with you there. 2 out of 3. Reds are good, but this is a home series. We know PNC Park pretty well. Then 2 at home against the White Sox.
Dude, we'll beat them again twice.
Agreed again. We've been agreeing a lot more often now. All right. Then 3 in Kansas City against the Royals.
We'll take 2 out of 3.
You know what? I think we're gonna get on a bit of a roll here as we hit September. I'm gonna go with the sweep against Kansas City. I don't rate the Royals particularly well this season, and yeah, I think Gerard Dyson will be motivated against his former team too. He might actually put on a competent offensive performance, maybe, especially because he sort of knows their staff a bit. So then we head back to Wrigley. No, we don't. I misread the schedule. We head to Great American Ballpark in Cincinnati, taking on the good old Cincinnati Redlegs.
We're 1-1.
They're gonna win 1 game. I probably agree with you there. 1 game. All right. 4 at home against the St. Louis Cardinals.
We split.
I think we're gonna take 1 out of 4. I think the Cardinals will be making that playoff push, and they'll be looking to get in above us. Then we stay at home for 4 with the Cubs.
We win 1.
We win. I think we're again gonna win 1. I think we're gonna win 1 again, for the same reason I just said with the Cardinals. They're gonna be making a playoff push. They're gonna be motivated. So just like that, this is how quickly the baseball season is. This is our last series of the season. We head over to Progressive Field in Cleveland, Ohio, where we face the Cleveland Indians.
We won 1.
Yeah, I think we're gonna take 2 out of 3 here. I think Cleveland's gonna have a playoff spot racked up, and I think they're gonna take their foot off the gas. So that concludes the season. Allow me, the actuarial science major, to do a bit of mathematics here and add up how abysmal this season is going to be for the Pittsburgh Pirates. So, Chris, this is surprising. I might have to add this up again. 26, you have the Pirates at 26 wins.
Really?
I know, it sounds weird. It seems like so many series you just said we were going to get swept, but I'll add it up again. Nope, it's 26. Let's see. Let's see how I did. "28 wins." All right, so a bit better than I frankly thought. When you take it
Me
series
too.
by when you take it series by series, I mean, you never know. 28 wins is what we have. Obviously, if you want to take that Neil Huntington approach, that's about the window that he claims to put the Pirates under, and then if stuff starts to fall into place, which is increasingly likely with a 60-game season, they could make a run. Um, I think it really comes down to the start. Unfortunately, that start is not looking good with, like I said, second toughest schedule in all of MLB in terms of the first 9 games of the season. I think if the Pirates can start out and actually go after these teams, uh, if they can win at least half of those first 9 games, at least 5 of those first 9 games, I think they should be in good position to succeed the rest of the season, considering uh, the schedule they had before them. Especially after that, they got Minnesota and then straight up into Detroit. So if they can win 5 of their first 9, they could give it a shot. But anything
That's
less
a
than
tough.
that,
You can't.
I think
We
they'll
don't
be
have the pitching to go into Chicago and challenge the Cubs at all.
yeah, that's gonna be really tough. But if we're looking at you gave the Pirates 1 win out of the first 9 games. I gave them 2, so that's not looking really good.
1-8. That's awful.
So if they can improve on that, if they can get 5 wins, then according to my thing, that puts them over 500. If all of my other predictions go true and they win 5 of their first 9 games instead of 2, that gives them 31 wins. In your case, that gives them 29 wins. So almost or 20. No, it gives them 30. They're at 500 under your predictions because that's 4 more wins than you gave them in their first 9. So, uh, yeah. So if the Pirates do get 5 wins out of their first 9 games, that puts our baseline predictions at above 500 level. But ultimately, I and you agree that we don't have the pitching, and we don't have the pitching to hang with these teams. I especially am worried for their first trip to Wrigley Field, middle of summer. That wind tends to blow out, and you tend to see a lot of home runs in a high-scoring game. I do not support the Pirates pitchers keeping the ball in the stadium.
No
So
one with the right mind does.
no, unless you're delusional, an idiot, or a combination of the two.
Agreed.
So that went by relatively quickly, actually. We're only about 13 and a half minutes into this thing, so why don't we get into some good old-fashioned hockey talk? All right.
Okay.
Finally get to know when we're going to kick things off. It's going to be August 1st in the grand old Canadian city of Toronto, Ontario. That is the east hub city. The west will be hubbed in Edmonton. And we, as you know, get to take on the Montreal Canadiens in a best of 5 for the right to take on the worst team in the round robin contest that the top 4 teams will undergo. So, your thoughts, as of course, uh, full camp also opens really soon, right?
Yes. So we got some deadlines. We got some dates. Obviously the important one's August 1st. That's when play resumes. So excited for that. Excited to finally see some hockey after months and months and months without it. Be interesting to see how the players come back. Be interesting to see what Sullivan does with the lines. Yeah, there's a lot to be decided here for sure.
Yeah, no, sure. Really interesting. Obviously, you have Jake Gensel coming back, and that was a bit of an unexpected surprise. Obviously, we thought that he would be out for most of the rest of the season. After I witnessed in person his derailing injury, but luckily for him, it was a bit of a blessing. The break was. Now he gets to play in the playoffs. Maybe get us a cup number 6. Really big boost. I'm really, really loving Jake Gensel coming back. I think he's going to make a ton of things happen for the Penguins.
What are your lines? What lines do you roll out?
Ooh, that is a big question, especially considering how in form Gensel's going to be. Do you put him? Do you slot him on that top line with Sid and Zucker? Would it be?
Would you
Gosh,
put Zucker as ahead of Shiri?
see that's the thing. It's been so long too. And then obviously on the second line you have Gino, and then uh Hornquist, right?
I'm trying to
Or
think now.
yeah, I know. It's been so long since I've had to put together lines.
Brian Rust is still on the team, right? Yeah.
Indeed, he is.
Does
He's probably
Brian
about
Rust go there?
on the second line. I don't know. Maybe the third line.
Then what's your third? Then who's your second winger?
Oh, you're right. Gino Hornquist. Well, remember that. Uh, Obviously Gino Hornquist, and you also have to remember that the odd man out between Sherry and Zucker, depending on who you have on the top line.
So then you would just slide them down to the second.
Yeah, probably. Well, I'd probably have Zucker on the top and then Sherry on the second. That's a killer second line if we have that.
Third.
Hmm. Obviously, you want Rust on the third line. Um. Dang man, it's tough. Uh. A lot of options. Obviously, it's really positive that we have a guy. Is Zach Aston Reese even still with the team?
Yeah.
That's really positive that he's on the fourth line. When he was a top 6 earlier in the season, not a lot of people, including myself, really thought that was a positive, but definitely think him being on the fourth line is really impressive. I think he's a third line guy in most teams, but in our team, um, trying to remember who else we have. Like I said, it's been so long. This team has not played in 4 months. So
Yeah, I'm trying to find the roster right
yeah,
now.
I know. We got um, we got Bukestad too.
No, I think he's hurt still.
Yeah, really? Oh yeah, that's right. He is. He is. Patrick Marlowe.
Teddy Blueger's a person.
Yeah. Jared
Jared.
McCann.
Oh, Jared McCann. I forgot about Jared
Yeah,
McCann.
Jared McCann too. Brandon Tanev.
I know. Forgot about him.
Is Simone still hurt?
No, he should be back.
Yeah. So ultimately, yeah, I'd probably go with Sid, Gensel, uh, Zucker, probably a top, and then Gino, Hornquist, and Sherry, and then probably go. Probably go. What was I thinking of? Oh, that's right. Do we put Marlowe on the third line? Or?
You could. It's your lines. You can do what you
Yeah, I
want.
mean, could see Patrick Marlowe on the third line with, oh boy, with Rusty and who else we got? Rusty and put Jared McCann there. Could be. Yeah. Rusty McCann. And then a solid fourth line with Luger, Tanev, and Zavone. So, how about you?
I'll go Sid, Jake, Shiri, then Gino, Zucker, Rust, then McCann, Hornquist, Marlowe,
Ooh.
then Bluger, Tanev, Sam Lafferty.
Ooh. I'm really liking that third line of yours, though. That's looking Hornquist and Marlowe, and who's the third guy? McCann.
McCann, yeah.
Yeah, that's looking really lethal. I really think that's that's always been the trademarks ever since in the Crosby era. I think that's been one of the trademarks of the Penguins is having a lethal third line.
Agreed.
We saw of course, we saw the
HBK line.
HBK line, of course, was legendary. We saw uh, even back in 09 with Stalzy and uh, in his line. I'm trying to remember who he was flanked by, but I'm thinking maybe it was Peter Sikora and
I thought Sikora played with Malkin.
yeah, he did. He played. Yeah, it was Malkin, Sikora, but I remember that third line being impressive. And then,
Did
like you said,
Kennedy play under third?
yes, that was Tyler Kennedy. That's what I was thinking. I was thinking of somebody. But yeah, it was very, very impressive. Third line, I'm really liking that. I'm definitely really excited to see. I think we can make a push.
Who starts in goal for you?
Based on form pre-COVID, I'm gonna have to go Tristan Jarry. Honestly,
Ooh,
I
going
think.
Tristan Jarry.
Yeah, I think he has kind of been. If we want to make a 2016 analogy, I think he's kind of been the Matt Murray to Matt Murray's Marc-Andre Fleury.
Mm-hmm.
I think he can get it done in the playoffs, especially considering we've seen how many times Matt Murray can get injured. So,
I think I'd start Matt Murray just because of the playoff experience.
yeah, I could see that. Obviously, Jari has only started one playoff game in his career. So
I would do that.
yeah, I could see that, but we saw Matt Murray what he did with no playoff experience.
True.
He went out and won the cup.
And won the cup, yeah.
Yes. So you never know. I have more confidence in Tristan Jarry this season. Matt Murray's kind of been a little iffy,
He
inconsistent.
has been.
I think Jarry's a bit more reliable, but I think it all comes down to how they've done in training camp and what Sully and our goaltending staff see in both goaltenders. I think ultimately it has to go by the form that we see in training camp, and that's what's going to give them the edge. I think it's almost even if we go season resume. So it's all going to come down to who's fit and who's in form.
But then again, will anyone truly be in form coming off of like 3 months of not doing anything?
Well, that's true, but I mean, you have training camps to analyze, and I don't know what they're gonna do. If some teams are gonna play exhibition matches, obviously you could have intra squad and exhibition scrimmages.
Is that allowed?
I said intra squad, so like within your own team.
Yeah.
So like if Team Sid played Team Gino and they did that sort of thing.
Yeah, I feel you.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Completely irrelevant, but
Sure.
I'm on hockeyreference.com, and Evgeny Malkin has a Soviet flag next to his name because
He's Russian.
Well, yes, but it's not a flag of Russia. It's a flag of the Soviet Union
Well,
because
he was
technically
born under the Soviet Union,
that's
wasn't
that's what I think it says, even though technically should say
he?
it technically should be Russia because that's where he is residing in right now. But
Correct. Well, now he's back here, right?
well, yeah, but he's an official. Like when he plays in international tournaments, he plays for Team
For
Russia.
Russia.
That's like if I'm a soccer fan, I'm not gonna see an English flag next to Pulisic's name.
I knew you were gonna say Pulisic.
This is a good time to throw in a shameless plug. If you haven't heard, we've started a new podcast, Chris and I, Miscellaneous Sports Mondays. Not available on YouTube, but it is available on basically anywhere you get your podcast: Apple, Spotify, Google, Anchor, uh, any place else. We talk all things worldwide sports. Lately, we've been talking about the English Premier League. If you are a fan of the beautiful game, check us out there. We've also been talking about how massive Bryson DeChambeau has gotten on the PGA Tour and recent NFL contract negotiations. So make sure to head over to wherever you get your podcast. Just go into the search bar and type in Miscellaneous Sports Mondays. You're going to love it.
We could talk about that. How does the Patrick Mahomes and Cam Newton signings affect the Pittsburgh Steelers?
I definitely think like we said on that podcast, the road to the Super Bowl now ostensibly runs through Kansas City in the same way it used to run through New England. Not to say that the Patriots won't be good without Brady, but it's obviously, no offense to Cam Newton, a downgrade to have the GOAT 1 year. Granted, he's 41, but he's still the GOAT. He showed he can perform. Cam Newton, again, we'll have to see what he could do in a Patriots uniform. We saw how he was able to do in a place like Carolina. It wasn't exactly surrounded with the best. Obviously, he had McCaffrey to hand the ball off to, which was always nice. I know you love Christian McCaffrey, Chris.
I do.
But yeah, they still have a solid defense, and it's going to be a battle to see. I don't even know. Do we play the Patriots again this year?
No.
No. That's so. So it would only affect us really if they make the playoffs. I do
Correct.
think that they still win the AFC East because
Agreed.
the division is terrible,
It's awful.
and
Awful.
I think that the I can't speak. The Chiefs will run away with their division. But I do believe that it is easier now that Brady is gone, it's easier for the Steelers to be able to contend for a number 2 seed should they win the AFC North. I think that the AFC North winner will ultimately be the number 2 seed, second to Patrick Mahomes and company in Kansas City. I can't see anybody else in another division usurping the winner of the AFC North as the number 2 seed. Even the Patriots in their crap division.
And maybe the Texans if they put something together.
Yeah, but we've seen how they could choke. I mean,
I'm trying to think because I don't think Tennessee's a threat for the 2 seed.
Tennessee's not good. Well, they're good, but they're not that good.
Dude, maybe. But see, New England still plays in that awful division.
I know, but
They're guaranteed 6 wins, bro.
True. Although the Bills have shown themselves to be competent at least in recent years.
Yeah, confident. But okay? You have $50. You bet between the Bills and the Patriots.
Oh, definitely, I'm taking the Patriots, but at least it's not like a shoo-in like it was in years past.
Dude, I just don't trust Josh Allen, bro.
See, I think he's going to do quite well against the division. I quite frankly think they're an easy I quite frankly think that the gap between the Patriots and the Bills is greater than the gap between the Bills and the rest of the AFC East.
Agreed.
Definitely. But yeah, I'm just really glad that Tom Brady did not sign with an AFC North team like
Oh,
the
I'd be so.
Browns. That
I'd
would
be
have
so.
been atrocious.
That would have been.
I would have wanted to punch a wall if he'd have signed with the Browns, or if the Bengals decided to trade the first pick to get him.
Oh, that would be dumb.
Yeah, it would.
Well, it would be the thing the Bengals would do, though.
Yeah, I mean, the Bengals have been known to make some quite stupid decisions, but they are not that stupid. Joe
One
Burrow
more.
is very clearly has the potential to be a generational talent. Could possibly be the torchbearer, leading on the post Tom Brady generation, if you will.
I think
Uh,
Pat Mahomes has that under control.
yeah, Pat Mahomes. Um, I think Pat Mahomes versus Joe Burrow will be the new Peyton v. Brady.
That's a bold statement.
It is a bold statement.
Considering we
Uh,
haven't seen Joe Burrow play it down of an
yeah, I
opponent.
know. Well, here's another bold statement that
Okay.
the Joe Burrow that we see will not be playing for the Cincinnati Bengals, because I I could see I could see him not succeeding in the way Cincinnati wanted to, and I could see him being traded, maybe for a draft pick, maybe to a team closer to the bottom that actually does have competent management and are willing to use him well and surround him with good receiving talent. So I could see him playing for the likes of
Wait a minute.
Indianapolis or
Just to make sure I'm understanding. You have Joe Burrow failing with the Bengals to the point that they trade him and
well, I
then
want to say
and
failed.
then trade him and then he's going to become a generational quarterback to the standard that he's going to rival Pat Mahomes like Manning rivaled Brady. Because
I
that's
mean,
what you just said.
putting it into that context, maybe I'm stretching it. I mean, now that I'm thinking about it, I might want to retract that statement. Um, the part where he's not with the Bengals,
Yeah.
I do think he has immense talent, and I do think he'll. I think it just depends on. Like I said, his talent. He's a generational talent. The talent is the key word here. Whether his numbers and his performance lives up to that depends on the team he's with and who he surrounds himself with. So I think what I was trying to say was, if he were at a team that were able to surround him with that good receiving talent, the way he was surrounded with the best receiving core at LSU,
Yeah, but I mean
then he would.
The Bengals did develop Dalton fairly well. I mean,
True.
yes, Andy Dalton is kind of a joke now, but I mean, they did go 14-2 or 13-3 a season and make like the number one seed or something.
I
Granted, they
don't think they did
lost it,
that, but
but well, they did go like something like 13-3
yeah.
one.
I think it's mainly that their receivers are injury prone. I mean, we've seen how many games AJ Green has missed, and more recently Tyler Boyd.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's more of that luck. I think if those two had been more healthy, I definitely think the Bengals would have been more successful. Also, they're kind of a victim of playing in, frankly, the strongest division in the AFC over during his time there. The
Yeah,
AFC North was pretty good. It was basically the Steelers, the Ravens, and then the Browns, which they're the Browns, but
the
three
Browns were
out of
there.
four teams being of that standard. I mean, how many times did we see the two wild card teams coming out of the AFC North, whether the
Yeah,
Steelers won the division and then the Ravens and the Bengals made it, or the Ravens won the division and the Steelers and Bengals made it?
or the Bengals won the division and the Steelers and Ravens made it.
Yes, it's so. Frankly, like I said, the only cupcake you have in the AFC North is the Browns. Well, back when Andy Dalton was doing his thing for the Bengals. Ever
Oh,
since
the
he
Browns
left,
still kind of a cupcake.
yeah. ever since he left, the Bengals have been even more cupcakes than the Browns. Really sad.
True.
I mean, not sad for us, but sad for everyone else.
Yeah, that's bad.
But yep, very very short episode. Unless you have more topics, Chris. I mean, this isn't our shortest episode. Our shortest episode was like less than 30 minutes. So
Really? When?
well, some episode in past. I would click away, but I can't. Then my voice gets all feedbacked.
Now I'll go find it. Give me a second.
Yes, high level, sophisticated technology here at the Pittsburgh Sports Cast.
Our shortest is 40 minutes.
Interesting. Well,
yeah,
I
I kind of
mean,
ran out of stuff to talk about when it comes to Pittsburgh sports, bro.
yeah, it's been a very dull past couple of months. Our only episodes have been in between the Steelers schedule release and the MLB schedule release. Our only episodes have been ranting about how incompetent Rob Manfred has been in Major League Baseball. Yeah, luckily they were able to sort out terms and conditions and the like, and that's all squared away and happy. Interesting fact, the first sport to resume in Pittsburgh will be none of those, will be, in fact, football. No, not the football we were just talking about, but the football the entire world knows and loves. The second division Pittsburgh Riverhounds of USL Championship will be starting their return to play.
Here's an interesting question we can talk about. I mean, I doubt Pittsburgh fans care, but we can talk about it.
Yeah.
Thoughts on maybe adding relegation to Major League Soccer?
Oh, I'm definitely for it. I know I would. I'm a big soccer fan. As if you listen to our bonus episode with special guest Kyle, shout out to him, by the way, if you're watching Kyle. But Chris and I, we follow soccer very religiously pretty much now. Obviously, we each have our clubs in the English Premier League, but I definitely think I would pay much more attention to the Riverhounds if we could be promoted to MLS. And I definitely think that the same would be true for a lot of other USL teams. I definitely think American soccer should have promotion and relegation because, I mean, first and foremost, I'm a fan of the U.S. men's national team. And how many times have we talked about lack of being able to develop players at a high level in our academies? Obviously, it's getting better now with MLS academies are getting better, and even USL academies, some are starting up. But ultimately, what fosters that development and fosters all that competitive drive is the fact that you can get promoted to the top league. And if you're sitting in the second division, like Pittsburgh, and you win the championship, and then you just have to do it again, like, that's such an unheard of concept. Like, you talk to a European, and like they're completely dumbfounded that it's like this. It's pretty insane. Like, they figure, well, what's your incentive? What's your incentive to, if you're not in the top division, what's your incentive to invest in a team in the second division? What's your incentive if you're a fan to go to a game in the second division if all you can be is champions of the second division and you can't go up? Or conversely, if you're at the bottom of the first division, why even care about your games then since you can't go down? You have nothing to fight for. It's and they get even crazier when you talk about other American sports with drafts, where in some cases losing is the ideal. Losing is what you want to do. I mean, tanking is obviously a thing in American sports, and that's just something you don't see anywhere else. It's kind of counterproductive. Like, especially when you consider the American dream, which is starting at the bottom, moving your way up through the ranks, and, making it, being a self-made success. That's the whole American dream. And the fact that our league system does not support that is kind of puzzling. End of rant.
Yeah, I think it should be added as well. Because I'm with you. I think I would pay much more attention to the Pittsburgh team if I knew that they could go and be a Major League Soccer team. I think a lot of people would.
Yeah, unfortunately, that is unlikely because of the structure of MLS. So basically, the way MLS works is the way that most other American sports leagues work. You, the teams are not separate entities. The league as a whole is one entity, and its clubs, its teams, they're not even clubs, they're teams, they're franchises that are just that. They are franchises connected to that single entity that is Major League Soccer. So when a rich billionaire will pay upwards of 150 to 200 million dollars for an expansion team, they're not starting a new club. They're paying for the right to have a piece of the league, essentially. And that is why Pro Rel will never happen, because you'd have to end the single entity and split all the teams into their own separate clubs, which would require a total restructuring of the entire league. And second, you'd have to get the owners on board after they paid $200 million to get into the top league. You have to get the owners on board with being at risk to go down, which would be totally incompetent. Now, obviously, you could do sort of what they do in England to the relegated teams and have parachute payments, but I don't think that U.S. soccer has the money to pay $200 million to a team that is relegated every year. The only way I could see Pro Rel ever coming to MLS is if the Pro Rel was contained in MLS itself, because MLS is rapidly expanding every year. It seems like they had one or two teams every year. They're at 30. They're going to be at 32 teams by 2021. Whereas most other leagues have 20 teams or 22, 24 teams. Bundesliga has 18 teams. So the only way I could see it is if they had, say, 40 teams total in the MLS and then split it into two divisions like MLS 1 and MLS 2. And then you had Pro Rel between that. That's the only way I could see it happening. Either that or there's been rumors that MLS will merge with the Mexican League. Then you'll have a total of 48 teams in the top division. So it would be pretty much impossible to have one league and all those games. You'd almost have to split it up into two levels if that happened. So, yeah, but I definitely am in the ballpark. Like, a lot of people, the people who are against it say that the fans won't care once their team goes down, but I don't think so. I think that, the team will want, obviously you're going to lose a bit of fans, even in England where they've had it for 100 years, 150 years. When your team goes down, you're going to see a drop in attendance. Right. But I ultimately think that more fans would stay than they think, because you can get back up to the top. It's not like when you go down, you're down forever. You can get back there and go back up to the top. Conversely, it also impacts attendance in the lower level leagues. Another thing that they always say when they don't want Pro Rel is, your attendance in the second division does not support Pro Rel because it won't be sustainable in the second division, because it's like a third of the first division attendance. But to that I say, I think more people would come to games. Like I said, I definitely consider coming to a Riverhounds game if there was Pro Rel and they had a chance to go up to MLS, especially considering it's a good product. They made the playoffs 2 seasons in a row. They won a playoff game 2 seasons in a row. I should say a playoff tie, because they're two-legged fixtures in USL. So, but it's definitely very exciting. In fact, sometimes when I'm bored and I have nothing to do and there's nothing else on, I'll turn on the CW and there's a game. But it's usually in the background and I really don't pay attention. But yeah, definitely. I'd even consider, like I said, attending some games in person if there was actually meaning behind it, and we could fight our way to the top. Sadly, I don't see that happening anytime soon. Definitely in support of it. Pro Roll for USA. Hashtag demand it. Wouldn't be the end all be all fix everything like some people claim. Some people just think that we will suddenly become the best soccer nation in the world because of Pro Rel. Obviously, it's going to take more than that, but it's a start.
Agreed. Yeah, I agree with that. I think it would be extremely helpful. I think it would make American soccer more popular as well. Um, to kind of see, the fight for survival and things like that. I'm with you. I don't think it will happen, but I think would be a huge help if it did.
Yeah. Could you imagine also even some casuals, like the novelty in America of having some team get kicked out of the league for being bad? Because we've seen so many American sports fans moan about tanking and how they hate the teams are willing to lose on purpose and actually benefit from it. And, I think that's some reason why the European game is growing fans here in America because you are penalized for uh, for complacency. You are penalized for finishing last. Whereas in America, you are rewarded for finishing last, which seems so counterproductive.
I don't think counterproductive is the word because I think the plan is the teams who finish at the bottom need the most help to try to figure out how to get at the top again. So they're going to need the best players because it doesn't make sense for, let's say, the Penguins to win the Stanley Cup this year, right?
Right.
So let's say the Penguins win the Stanley Cup and then they get the first round draft pick, Lafreniere. Okay, now we have three insane centers. A team like what's Detroit gonna do? Detroit
Yeah.
needs the help. We don't. We just want the cup. Well,
I like I said, I understand why the draft is set up the way it is. And I also like the fact that there's a lottery. I think the NFL should adopt a lottery because tanking, I think, is most prevalent in the NFL um, because it's straight up worst team gets first pick. There's no ping pong balls. There's no chance. Obviously, you still see some sort of tanking in the NBA. We saw a bit with the New York Knicks when they tried to get Zion. Ultimately, he ended up going to the Pelicans. So it didn't work too well for them. But baseball, you don't really see it either because we've talked at lengths about how it takes 5 years for the average draft prospect to even get to Major League Baseball. So tanking really doesn't do much in the short term, and people wouldn't be on board with it because why do I care? I'm going to be long gone by the time by the time it benefits this team. So,
hmm.
but yeah,
Go
when
ahead.
you look at when the European approach, and I just think it's better. Unfortunately, sometimes you do get dominant teams in that case, like Liverpool this season, or Bayern for 8 straight years, or the big two of Real and Barca in Spain, or PSG. But ultimately, I think I really am in support of a system that rewards success and punishes failure.
Yeah, I mean, I think it would work in soccer. I don't know how well it would work in other sports.
Baseball, I think, if baseball did pro rel, I think that would be an easy adjustment.
Dude, no, we don't want that because we're the ones who are gonna get relegated.
I didn't say I wanted it. I just said it would work the best because they already have most teams have competent stadiums. Obviously, it would be very weird seeing 10,000 seaters in the MLB, but hey, it's no different than looking at Huddersfield Town, I think it was. I forget how many seats their stadium had. They're like 8,000. It was ridiculous.
That's
Um,
small.
yeah, it was crazy. Um, people would adapt, and more people would maybe expand their stadiums if they had the chance to be at the top. That's the other thing. It grows the game. That's the other thing. It grows the game at the grassroots level because you're more incentivized to support your local club or your local team, even if they're not necessarily in the top league, because they could get to the top league. And, they could be there. Like, you look at Sunderland, a team with a 50,000 seat stadium. They're sitting in League One. So,
Sunderland went all the way down to League One?
yep. They've just been absolute failures for the last 3 years. Just collapsed out of the Prem and into League One. Newcastle fans are obviously very happy about that.
I didn't realize they went down that far.
Shout out to any Magpies supporters listening if you're out there. Also, shout out to Bayern supporters. Apparently, we have 5% German viewers.
Interesting.
Shout out to all you Germans watching this. Especially you Bavarians if you're Bayern supporters. All right. Well, I think we've killed enough time. Apologize for being sidetracked for a minute. But we're glad you could hang around with us as we just sort of chatted about. We sort of had a bit of a miscellaneous sports moment on the Pittsburgh Sports Cast. Final thoughts, Chris? Anything else you'd like to say?
No, I think we covered everything, dude.
Cool, then. If you liked listening to this, remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Pittsburgh Sportscast, if you're not already listening to us there.
Oh, wait.
Comment below.
News. Time out. We got breaking news.
Oh. What is that breaking news?
So, this has to be... So, this is about the NHL and their new CBA.
Oh, boy.
So, Tuesday, July 7th, which is technically yesterday, I guess, by the time we're doing this.
Yeah.
NHLPA's executive board approves sending an agreement to the Players Association. July 8th, the players' ratification voting begins. And then July 10th will be the announcement whether the CBA passed or not.
So really interesting stuff. That might be our next episode. Hopefully it's not. That would mean they accepted it. Hopefully we don't run into the same snags with the NHL that we did with the MLB. Obviously they haven't even had to negotiate their CBA yet. This was just over one season. It's going to be a nightmare after 2021. That's for sure.
Yeah.
But that's a bit of breaking news for you people. If you haven't heard it, by the time you wake up tomorrow, or rather wake up this morning, I guess, and listen to this. Back to the outro then, I guess. All right. So, again, you can make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Pittsburgh Sportscast, if you're not listening there already. If you are listening on YouTube, remember to send your comments below. We love listening to whatever you have to say, unless you're a bot. Don't ask us if we want to be friends. You can if you're not a bot, but if you are a bot, please don't comment. You can also email us at pittsburghsportspodcast@gmail.com, sending in your questions, comments, concerns, suggestions for future podcast episodes. You can also send us a line on our Twitter feed at PGH Sportscast. But until we get the next batch of news in Pittsburgh sports, I'm Ryan.
And I'm Chris.
And we'll see you next time on the Pittsburgh Sportscast. Stay safe, and so long, everybody.